Throughout Chinese history, the greatest threat to an emperor was really a foreign enemy, not his ministers, not even the eunuchs around him. It was his own family. So why was it that an emperor's most dangerous enemy was often the person closest to him? To protect their throne, emperors did everything they could. They executed powerful officials, weakened their generals, and kept a close eye on their eunuchs. They believed this would remove every threat. But history has shown us again and again the people who truly threatened the throne were rarely any of them. It was the imperial family. In many dynasties, the imperial family was the emperor's most important source of support. They could control territories, command armies, and represent the future of the dynasty itself. But history also tells us something else. The greatest danger of an emperor often comes from that same group. So why did both of these things come from the same people? The imperial family had three things that no minister could ever have. First, legitimacy. When anyone else raised an army, it was called rebellion. But when members of the imperial family raised an army, they could claim they were protecting the emperor and restoring order. Second, resources. Territories, royal residences, wives, and private armies. A prince, simply because of his title, could control resources that ordinary people could never build in several lifetimes. And resources determined whether they had the power to turn a claim to the throne into reality. Third, the right of succession. When an emperor died, no minister could simply take the throne, but a member of the imperial family could. This does not mean they would live today. It means they always had that possibility, and that possibility itself was the threat. With this problem, emperors throughout history followed a path of trial and error, changing their approach again and again. The first approach trusted the imperial family. After Liu Bang conquered the empire, he gave the most important territories to a prince from his own Liu family. His logic was simple. People with different surnames might betray him, but his own family would not. But he never imagined what this seed would grow into decades later. By the time of Emperor Qing, the original prince had become powerful enough to challenge the central government. The rebellion of the 7 states broke out. Almost all of the leaders came from the Liu family. The family he trusted most had become his greatest threat. The Ming dynasty later faced the same problem. Zhu Yuanzhang gave his son the title of regional prince, believing that his own family would be the most reliable. But Zhu Di, the prince of Yan, raised an army and took the throne from his own nephew. The imperial family had defeated the imperial family. The lesson was clear. Give the imperial family too much power, and they may gain strength to challenge the throne itself. The second approach weakened the imperial family. Emperor Wu of Han used a policy known as the twin order. He did not directly attack the prince. He simply changed the rule of inheritance. When a prince died, his land had to be divided among all his sons. Instead of passing everything only to the eldest son. From that point on, every regional prince was helping the central government break down the power of the prince. With their own hearts, they divided their own territories, smaller and smaller with each generation. Emperor Wu did not attack them directly. He simply changed the rule and let the prince weaken themselves. But the fundamental problem still remained. The Western Qing dynasty was a clear example. Emperor Wu of Qing, Sima Yan, granted many members of his clan titles and lands. Their territories were not huge, but they were given military power. The moment the Emperor Wu died, 8 princes began fighting each other for control of the central government. The war of the 8 princes lasted 16 years and eventually drained the strength of the Western Qing dynasty. Soon after, the dynasty collapsed. As long as the imperial family had military power, the threat would always remain. The third approach takes away their power completely, gives them status, but not real power. The Song dynasty kept the imperial family wealthy, but gave them almost no political influence. They had title and income, but no military power and no control over local territories. The Qing dynasty followed a similar path. Members of the imperial family were well treated, but real military and political power remained firmly in the emperor's hands. This approach did succeed in controlling the threat from the imperial family, but the cost was also clear. When the Zhetan forces captured the Song capital, almost the entire Song imperial family was taken captive and sent north. Not a single branch of the imperial family was strong enough to organize a resistance. In the later years of the Qing dynasty, when facing rebellions such as a Taiping uprising, the forces that carried the real military burden gradually became regional armies led by Han Chinese officials, such as the Xiang Army and Huai Army. Figures like Zheng Guangfan and Li Hongzhang became key leaders. The imperial family had lost its ability to protect the dynasty. They were supported during peaceful times, but when the dynasty truly needed them, they were no longer useful. Every emperor throughout history was trying to answer the same question: how could they make the imperial family strong enough to protect the empire, yet weak enough that they could never take it away? And history gave the same answer. These two goals could never be achieved at the same time. The more capable the imperial family became, the more intense the competition for succession became, and the greater the danger. The weaker the imperial family became, the less useful they were when the dynasty truly needed them. No dynasty ever found the perfect balance. They were all simply choosing because they were willing to accept. The greatest tragedy for an emperor was not that he could trust no one. It was that even the people he should have trusted most had to be watched carefully. Others included the sons and the nephews, the people closest to him by blood, were often the ones closest to the throne. What ordinary people saw as family bonds would become political relationships when they stood before the throne. For ordinary people, blood means trust. For an emperor, blood means the right to inherit the throne. For more than 2,000 years, almost every Chinese dynasty faced this same problem. It was not the problem of one single emperor. It was the price of hereditary rule itself. The greatest enemy of the throne was never the imperial family itself. What could never truly be defeated was the endless competition for succession created by hereditary power. As long as the throne could be inherited, that competition would never come to an end.